So your first key, not the keys, but a key, is God will test you with how you steward and manage what is someone else's.
God will test you.
He will steward and manage you with how you do with money before he gives you spiritual authority.
Wow. Manage.
And then he will see how you steward and manage what you think is beneath you. Those are the three keys.
We'll give them to you again. Brother Chad, take off and run with this tonight. Sister Heather, thank you for the music tonight. Yes. Do you need me to do anything?
Nope.
I'm going to sit down and relax then.
Okay. I'm ready for tonight. I was ready for Sunday to get after Sunday for tonight to get here. Because I'm ready to give you guys some truth. You ready to receive some truth?
Yes.
I hope so, because you couldn't remember the keys. So, Matthew chapter 13, verse 24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the household came and said unto him, Sir, did not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it have tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, you also root up the wheat with them. Let them both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Tonight's title is Responding to Change. Responding to change. So we're going to talk about a few things. There are changes that happen. The first change that happens to us. There is change that happens to you. You get hurt, then lose the job, then lose the house. Changes that happen to you. The kids act up, do something they're not supposed to. You have to move. Things that happen to you. Changes that happen in your life that are to you. Then there are changes that happen around us. This could be community changes. This could be economy changes. It could be something happens in the community or the city and the state, and laws get passed, bills get proposed, and things are happening, and they're happening around us. Then there's change that happens in us. What you thought was a good idea when you were 20, now that you're 40 is not a good idea. You actually thought it was a terrible idea now that you're older. Change happens in you. The older you get, you change. It's change that happens in you. Okay? A change that happens to women, menopause. It's a change that happens in you. Midlife crisis happens in you. You wake up one day and you want to change your whole life. Okay? Your taste buds change, your interests change, You know, what you wanted to do prior, now you no longer want to do. Or what you thought was funny one day is no longer funny anymore. You were laughing yesterday, but today it's not that funny. Changes that happen in us. So you have changes that happen to you, you have changes that happen around you, and you have changes that happen in you. You didn't ask for any of it. Sometimes it's a triple whammy. Sometimes something happens in you that causes you to change to you, and then it forces your environment to change. You didn't ask for any of it. But it has affected and altered the way you live life. You didn't want it. You didn't ask for it. But it happened. Okay? Light. It happens. Period. Then there's a fourth one. This fourth one is one that we initiate. One that you initiate, this happens when you're tired of something and you want to make a change. And you have a preferred future and you're tired of today, so you want a better tomorrow. So you go to school, you get married, you start the business, you do something today because you prefer a better tomorrow. You're tired of this, so you do that. You want that, so you change and do this. It's change that you do. You're tired of it. You don't want to deal with it no more. You want that. You initiate that change. Now the problem with these four changes, and there's something that we've got to talk about. And that thing that we got to talk about is generally there is only one of these in your control. Each of these have happened in our life, but there was only one that you had a choice to do. You didn't ask for things to happen to you. You didn't ask for things to happen around you, and you never asked for things to happen in you. But there was one thing that you determined, and you said, I want to change this. Good or bad, doesn't matter. You made the choice. The other threes, generally speaking, you have no choice. Now that's not the problem. The problem is not that you can't control these. That's not the problem. The problem is the fourth one. Because the problem is we don't take this fourth one and respond appropriately to the first three. So you have something that happens to you that you don't like. What do you do about it? You don't like what's happening around you. You have the choice how you get to determine it. You have something that happens in you. You get the choice how you respond to it. You didn't ask for it. Wasn't your choice, but you, on the fourth, you get to initiate something. You get to say, this won't affect my life this way, it'll affect my life that way. I don't like what they did to me, but I'm going to make sure that I don't do it to them. Life gave me lemons, but I'm going to make lemonade. And that's the problem. It's not that you can't control these. The problem is you do nothing with number 4. So if you don't know how to respond to these, your life's going to be a mess. And most people don't know how to respond to these. They don't know how to respond when life kicks them in the teeth. They don't know how to respond. Or one way they respond is they feel like they have no control. Well, life is just going to happen no matter what I do, so why should I try? Life has given me this hand of cards, and I don't know how to play it, so life is pointless. Why would I have a better tomorrow when I'm dealing with today? So you have people who give up. You have people who throw in the towel, and They don't know how to manage anything because they think they're worthless and they don't know what power they have within themselves to change what's going on. So they run away and think, well, it's just life. It happened to me. I can't change it. So I'm just going to let life keep kicking me while I'm down. How do you steward and manage when things happen to you? How do you steward and manage when things happen around you? How do you steward and manage things when they happen in you? Now here's what happens. This is what we love to do. Because we don't know how to respond to life, we like to use that blame game. We like to blame everything. We like to blame our parents. We like to blame our upbringing. We like to blame this. We like to blame that. They didn't give me what I needed. I didn't get what I should have gotten. So this happened to me because of them. This is happening around me because of what they did. They didn't do this. The circumstances may change, but blame is natural to us, so it's easy for us to make someone else pay the price for something. So you have a perfect scenario because we like to blame. So you're married. Well, you get divorced. Well, the statistics aren't so great on a second marriage. Right? It's like 60 to 70% that it'll end in divorce. And then if you get married a third time, it's that 73 to 75% chance that you get divorced. Why? Because we make the new spouse pay for what the old spouse did. Because we like to place all this blame. Well, they did that. Well, they did that. Well, they did that. Not having any clue that you get a choice to determine the outcome. So we don't think twice about anything else. We like to put all the variables in. And we like to say, well, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. When you get to the equation, you say, well, it's not my fault. It may not be your fault, but you get to choose how you respond to it. So our scripture. We're going to dissect some questions you need to ask yourself. Matthew 13:24. And another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. When a negative event happens in your life, there is a question that you have always got to ask yourself. No matter the circumstances, no matter how bad it is, you have got to ask the question, did I cause this? Now that's a very hard question to ask because you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be true to yourself. You got to meditate a little bit and start digging into your past to make sure you didn't sow what you're reaping. Because chances are you are sowing what you reaped. Chances are. So what did the sower do? He examined, what kind of seed did I sow? I know I sowed good seed. So it was not something I did. But you have to ask yourself that question. When this happens, did you do it? Was it a decision that happened in your past 20 years ago that's just now manifesting? See, it might not be a yesterday decision. It might be a 20-year ago decision that's just now manifesting in this. So you got to go back and ask yourself, am I to blame for what I'm reaping? And that should be the first question. But oftentimes, it's our last question, or we don't even ask it at all. Because instead of asking that question, we like to blame a devil. We like to blame a demon. We like to blame God. We like to blame man. We like to blame a spirit. We like to blame everything without first examining what type of seed did I sow. We like to blame the church. We like to blame the leadership. We like to blame our upbringing. We like to blame our parents. So we blame all of these things, never asking the question, did I sow for that? Did I make a decision that caused me to reap this harvest? I can't pay my bills and I'm getting more in debt. Before you start rebuking a devil out of your checkbook, look and see if it's something that you caused. Maybe you got something you shouldn't have. My kids have all grown up. They don't want to spend time with me. And before you start quoting Proverbs 22, train up a child, before you start quoting that verse to God, make sure you were there in their childhood to make sure they even want to come back to you. But see, we want to start quoting Scripture to God and saying, well, God, this, well, you didn't sow for that. You're sowed for this. Now you're reaping what you sowed. Don't blame God. It was your decision that caused it. It wasn't a devil. Devil had nothing to do with it. Quit giving him more than he needs. It was your fault. I'm on my 5th job in 2 years. Before you start blaming your employer, maybe you should examine your life and say, am I an employee worth having? But that's not what we do. We blame, well, it's the employer's fault. They didn't do this. It's my first wife's fault. It's my second, who we blame, instead of saying, you know what, I could have done better here. I made this decision, and now I'm reaping it. Did you sow, and what kind of seed did you sow? The lack of order, the lack of management, the lack of stewardship in every area of life, the lack of priorities, the lack of discipline, the lack of responsibility. It all goes back to management, to self-management and response. How did you respond when these things happened? Okay, so you got hurt, so you lost the job, so you lost the house. Okay, did you start blaming everyone else for those responsibilities, for those actions? Was it now the wife's fault? Was it now the kid's fault? How did you respond when those events happened? Did you blame God for that diagnosis? Did you blame your parents for the diagnosis? What did you do to handle that change? How did you respond to when these things happen? And what kind of seeds did you sow when it happened? The second question you need to ask yourself, Matthew 13:25. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. So if you're honest with yourself and you say, you know what, I can't see anywhere why I would have sown for this. I've looked and I've tried to examine my decisions and I don't know where this would have come from. The next question you move towards is, did an enemy do this? Now this goes beyond spiritual warfare and a devil. Okay, because people can be enemies. Okay, people have bad spirits. They have bad motives. Has nothing to do with a devil sometimes. Yes, there can be a devil, but it's not always a devil. There are just some people that don't like you. And it's not a devil controlling them. They just don't like you. It's part of life. So the second question you ask yourself is, did an enemy do this? Did I let my guard down and let someone in my garden?
There you go. You didn't guard your garden.
Did I allow an environment within my home that I was ignorant to that allowed foxes to enter my garden? Did I hang around those people not knowing what those people represented? Do I still go to those places? I justified that because I still wanted to do this. I allowed that because I wanted this. I wasn't willing to give that up, so I continued to do this. And as long as you're properly overseeing your garden, an enemy can't enter. But it's when lack comes in that you oftentimes don't look at your garden. And lack comes into your life, and then you stop overseeing what's getting into your garden. And if you lack one area, it's only a matter of time before the vulnerability comes in and it happens. So you turn a blind eye to this one time. Well, that one time slowly creates a cycle. Well, I allowed her to do that thing just one time. Well, that one thing eventually gets to be a big thing. An enemy did this. An enemy was able to find a small area and crawl into it. It was able to crawl through a fence that I never fixed, that I was told to fix. And here's the tricky thing when it comes to an enemy. Remember, this, yes, includes kingdom of darkness, but it also just includes people with bad motives and people who really just don't care. See, the thing about enemies is they're very tricky, and they don't tell you they're an enemy until it's done. So they move slowly and they move methodically, and they may not even know they're an enemy because that just may be their life. But you don't see the damage that's been caused until they're no longer there. You look back at your garden, you realize, what in the world is this? I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't sow for any of this. But how did you respond to it? How did I get in this mess? Seed after seed was planted day after day by the enemy, and you didn't even know it. When you're at a zoo, when someone needs to take an animal out of their environment, the zookeepers, or whatever you want to call them, that take care of them, if they need to move them from one zoo to another zoo, this is the process by which they follow. They first take the cage that they will transport them and put it in their environment. They simply put it there and ignore it. They don't go around it. They don't do nothing with it. They let the cage become their environment. So the animal gets familiar with seeing the cage day after day. Then after a couple weeks, when the animal is okay with the new thing that happened, then they start to go around it. Then they start to play with it. Then they start to get the animal interacting with it, getting them comfortable with the cage. They let that go on for a couple more weeks. And before you know it, they are able to get the animal into the cage without a fight, and they are able to transport the animal to its next zoo or city or wherever it's going. That's how slow and methodical the enemy is. It gets something in your environment. Then it gets you familiar with it to where you don't feel the conviction anymore. Or you don't listen to the voices that are telling you not to do it. And you start playing around with it and doing it more, or associating yourself with it anymore. And then before you know it, you're trapped, and now you're gone. An enemy has done this. How did you respond? You didn't ask the enemy to do it. But how did you respond? Did you still play the blame game and say it was their fault? May have been their fault. But how are you going to change your life? How are you going to respond? How are you going to respond to what daddy did, to what mommy didn't do, to how? You didn't ask it. But what are you going to do about it? And then the third thing, Matthew 13, verse 30. Let them both grow together. You may not have sown for it, and the enemy may not even have done it. Then you must come to the understanding that life happens. We live in a fallen world where bad things happen. It's just part of life. Life just happens. And it's not nothing you sowed for, had nothing to do with an enemy, but life happened. Broken people living in a broken world. But how do you respond to it? If you have 3 of these changes that you must deal with your entire life, and you're not in control of them, how do you take the 4th one and respond to them? How do you do that? When something happens you don't like, what do you do? How do you manage what happened? How do you steward the cards that you were dealt? Because there's only one you can control. How do you react? How do you respond? And you must learn to respond appropriately to these things, or your life will be terrible, it will be chaotic, and it will be hell because you don't know how to respond to them. And you've got to learn to manage on when something happens to you, how you respond to it. You need to know how you respond when a recession hits. Are you going to blame everybody, or are you going to prep yourself and say, okay, what do I need to do? When something happens in you, when those emotions take place, when that feeling takes place, when that test doesn't come back, how do you respond to it? Do you lay over in bed and say, well, woe is me, I can't do this. Oh, we must do this, and I give up. You get to choose how you respond. How do you respond to it? Bad things happen in the midst of good people. It's life. The wheat would have been plucked up if they went and tried to get the tares. So the wheat, very important, the good stuff would have never manifested if you just try and rid all the bad stuff. Because you have got to process when a negative event happens and comes into your life, what is your response to it? Is your response to try to get rid of all this bad stuff, not knowing that when you try to do that, you're getting rid of all the good stuff? It's knowing how to appropriately respond to when you see tares in your life. Growth does not come from the destination. Growth comes from the process. And one day you may get there, but there will only come when you have a life long full of process. And most of the time when you think you're there, it turns out you're not really there, but it turns out it's just another process that you got to go through. It's something else that you've got to pursue. So here's what the church says. Here's what Christians say. We will not be happy until we get there. And if you say that, then you miss life. Life is not in the destination. Life is in the process to getting to the destination. if that is the life you live, you will miss moment after moment to do what Pastor just said before. You will get to the end of your life and realize everything that you missed. There's a kids movie we watch that illustrates this perfectly. There's a movie called The Croods. And Guy is looking for tomorrow. And he searches day after day looking for what's called tomorrow. This guy is a guy. That's okay. And he meets a cave family. Okay, and they're searching for a tomorrow, missing what's going on every day, and that's what we do. This happens. Life happens. Things happen to you. Things happen around you. Things happen in you, and you don't know how to respond to it. So you miss life. You miss opportunities. You miss blessings. You miss miracles. All because you don't know how to respond when a negative event happens in your life. Now here's the caveat. Here's what we really need to talk about. We as faith people, we who believe in an almighty God, struggle with negative events in our life. We are taught to a certain degree to make sure that we don't make God look bad. We are to make sure that we smile when we have nothing to smile about. We make sure to push past emotions and feelings, acting as if we don't have any. We're to act in a way that seems impossible. We're supposed to look at things differently. We're supposed to speak to things differently. We're supposed to pray, and we're supposed to fast. We're supposed to read the Bible. We're supposed to believe. We're supposed to hold on to the promises of God. And even though all that is true, we do something that is impossible because we as quote-unquote Christians do not know how to respond to negative events that happen in our life. And your life hasn't been perfect. You've had some crummy situations arise. We've all been through some stuff. And yes, our God has seen us through it. But you're naive to think that what you went through had no effect on you. And we don't acknowledge that. We don't acknowledge when a negative event happens in our life, the damage that it truly caused internally. And it affects us in certain ways. When this situation happened, we learned not to do that anymore. So we change our lives to do something different so that don't happen. So we learn from all these negative experiences and bad situations that happened to us, that happened around us, that happened in us, and we try to appropriate these things, and we try to think that they don't affect us and that we're not living a life that we don't like because we don't want to make God look bad. We don't want to be honest and say, this hurts. I'm feeling this way. We don't want to admit that the storms of our life have hit us and have changed and shaped us in a certain way. We don't want to admit all that. Yes, you serve a perfect God, but we are not living in a perfect world. Yes, God has ordained promises and blessings and miracles, but that does not mean you will not drink a cup of sorrow every so often. Now, the amazing thing that God does is he says, even though you're drinking this cup of sorrow, I will make sure that I turn the cup of sorrow around and make sure it affects you in a positive way. But you're the one who has to make that choice. That doesn't mean the scars disappear. That just means the wound properly healed. That means when everything's going great, he still gets the glory. That means when everything's going bad, he still gets the glory. Doesn't matter whether the circumstance is. He still gets the worship and the praise. But here's what we do. When the negative event happens in our life, we allow our relationship with him to be affected by what we're going through. And because we had a bad day today, we just don't give him our all today. And tomorrow we had a great day, so we make sure we give him a great big thing. You should not be going through life allowing your relationship for God to be weathered by what changes are happening to you, around you, and in you. My response should be the same whether I'm experiencing heaven or whether I'm going through hell. You should stay the same. But we as faith people, that's extra pressure for us that eventually leads us down a road we oftentimes never come back from. We say, this has affected me. I'm tired of going through this. I don't like this. I didn't want this. Why is this going on? So we think, because we don't want to make God look bad, we show no signs of weakness. Because if we do, well then maybe our God's truly not God to someone. We put a smile on until our cheeks hurt. We say, hey, when someone says, hey, how you doing? We see blessed and highly favored, even though we don't feel any of it. Because we don't want to tell someone exactly what's happening because we don't want God to look bad. You act like a flying angel in the heavens even though you're living in a hell. Living life publicly does not correlate privately. And what you say you are at church, you're not in your home. And that's extra pressure for us because we can't be honest. Why can't we be honest? Because when we're honest, we get the people who look at us all side-eye, like there's sin in our life, like we're not as holy as we should be, like we're not as righteous as we should be. Brother Ron, you shouldn't be doing that now. Scripture says this. So we can't be honest because we know the judgment. We know what the church will do if we're saying this hurts. But listen, I've come to tell you, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay. You will not make God look bad. Life happens. God understands. Life happens. Things hurt. People stab you. Things happen to you that you didn't ask for. Things happen around us that you didn't ask for. Things happen in us that you didn't ask for. Maybe it was someone's fault. Maybe it was even something you sown, but it doesn't matter. because you're not responding to it appropriately. Pastor is oftentimes very open. And he'll tell you, today wasn't just not a good day. He did it a couple Tuesday nights ago. And that's a wrong concept that we as church people have. Because we say if you really love God, if you really have a good relationship with Him, you ought not to have a bad day. You ought to be blessed and highly favored every single day. That's not the truth. Things happen. Things happen. Why is it okay to not be okay? This is very important. Why is it okay not to be okay? Because that is an opportunity for God. But we struggle with that. See, that happened in John 9. See, Jesus is passing some people, and Jesus passes a blind man, and Jesus heals them. And they're all saying, well, what sin did he commit? What sin did his parents commit? All the people could focus on was, what did you do to do this to yourself? What sin was committed? And Jesus is like, y'all done missed that I healed the man. He didn't do any sin. It's just life. And Jesus is trying to describe there that I don't care what the circumstances are. This is an opportunity for me. This is a testimony within itself that could bless. So don't worry about, well, looking at all, well, you got to be sinning in your life. Well, you obviously must not be holy. You must not be righteous. You must not be reading your Bible. You must not be praying. What circumstances you face, there is a God who will work it out in His glory. See, we want God to step in our victory, but you should let Him step into your failure. Because that's where God will use your failure and say, that's okay. This is my opportunity to make this a victory. But we don't want to do that because we don't want to be open, because it hurts. And we think, and not only do we think, but it happens that the eyes of the church, generally speaking, will judge me because they'll look at me saying I got sin. And things have happened. But you get to determine if God steps into the situation. Regardless of what happens to you, regardless of what happens around you, regardless to what happens in you, as long as you respond to these appropriately, God can use them for His glory. But the choice is yours. First Lady, you could come. The choice is yours. Things happen. It's life. If you did sow for it and you're reaping it, okay. It's not the end of the world. Okay, someone did do something to you. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Because you get to choose the tomorrow that happens. You can live in it today and say, well, it was because of them. Because I didn't have this. Because they showed me this. Okay. Because I have this generational curse. Okay. You get to choose whether it stays in your life. You get to choose whether that thing that you've dealt with over and over again stays. You may have not done anything to get it, but you have the power to change it. So, someone betrayed me, someone slandered me, someone used me, someone abused me. Okay. Instead of waiting around for an apology which may never come, you get to determine whether you wait for that apology or not. You get to determine if that will dictate your tomorrow and your next day and your next season. Self-management. You have got, if you want to be anything in life, you have got to know how to respond to this stuff. You can respond to it positively, or you can respond to it negatively, or you could not respond to it all, to it any. No one else has that choice in your life. Only you do. So before we move on, because we're going to start talking about sowing and reaping with this self-management. That's the direction we're going. You've got to understand the law of sowing and reaping. And you need to know that if you are reaping a harvest you don't want, you don't have to place blame. You don't have to whine. You don't have to beg. You don't have to play a victim. You get to choose what happens. You could take the negative event and turn it into something positive. And if you respond to it appropriately, your God is there to turn what you thought was something bad and make it something good. But you won't see that until after. You won't see, wow, you know what? This negative event that happened in my life, I didn't see it when it started. I couldn't see it going through the process. But looking back now and seeing what God did with it, the choice is yours. Self-management. You have got to learn when life hits you, how to respond when life hits you. You've got to learn how to respond when an enemy kicks you. And you have got to learn how to respond when you have done something to yourself. You have the choice. Now, I don't know what a best altar call would be. But I think some of us maybe need to get real about this. Because we can examine our lives and say, man, there's been stuff that happens to me. Some stuff has happened around me. Some stuff has happened in me. I didn't like any of it. I didn't ask for any of it. I don't want any of it. But you have a God that if you respond correctly to it, He will take that thing and make it something beautiful. So take this moment while First Lady sings and examine on how you've responded, thus making a change for your tomorrow, because that's something that you initiate.